Hey, it's Chris with the Great Party. Today I'm going to talk about the organizational hierarchy behind a lot of the tech products that you use, including this one, and how that sort of plays into how the products develop and what you end up interacting with. So, at the top of any organization is the business. It's the C level guys, like the chief product officer, chief technology officer, CEO, and what their incentive is to make the business more profitable. So, just for example, think about Mark Zuckerberg at Meta. What he's interested in is giving favorable uh, quarterly reviews to the street to attract more investors. That's his job, to return money on investment. If you're a company like Meta, you have different ways of making money. They sell hardware products now, like the Quest 3 is their most recent product. But a lot of their business is software, like Facebook. They own Instagram now and WhatsApp. And the way that Facebook makes money is not only through advertising uh, on their platform, but also just from people using the platform and allowing that to collect and personal information about some of their preferences that they can use to sort of sell to other advertising platforms. So that's where they make their money. So that's what they're incentivized to do. Everything they do is going to be about improving that and continuing that sort of revenue stream. So in between the business people and the engineers, and again, I'll state, uh, I can talk confidently about this because I used to work for YouTube's parent company, Google. So I know these things work. But in between the business and the engineers are going to be the product managers who are involved in the strategy of developing particular products. So there's going to be product managers for Facebook. At an organization that big, there's going to be product managers for like all these different aspects of Facebook, like the advertising platform. There's going to be like a you know just like general product of using Facebook. There's going to be a product manager for that or multiple ones. But their job is they basically have the same incentives as the business folks. There's also the added incentive of being productive, like showing that they're getting things done. Those things get implemented by the engineering team, but the product managers are the ones that sort of set out what the goals are and what the general strategy is, and how to define success. Which brings me to the next level, and that's the area I'm most familiar with because I am an engineer myself, but that's the engineers. They're the ones that write the code, they're the ones that create the apps, fix bugs, and also develop features. So, say you want to add a profile to your app, the engineer is the one that writes the code and executes on that. And where it can kind of provide a unique perspective is to say that these engineers, they're not like soft science kind of people by and large. Uh, I think there's not a lot of like great representations of what engineers are like in media. I think Silicon Valley does a decent job, but I'll say just man, from working down in Mountain View for years, like these guys are very highly smart, but also like kind of very like socially awkward. So you don't really have. I just don't know if the average person has ever met like this kind of Silicon Valley engineer archetype. And I'm a little bit like that too. Like I'm socially awkward too, and like kind of like super in my head and all that. But that's what I would look for these kind of guys. And their incentive, like the way that they climb the ladder, is by effectively solving these kind of problems, whether it's a bug or a new feature, uh, coming up with a really good like technical solution to it, and basically like any problem that you throw at them to solve, they're going to solve it, and that's their job. So the other kind of layer on like a content media uh, technological product. And as I mentioned, I work in local media now, So we're going to talk about the content creators that create the content that you consume as a user. And in local media, the content creators are reporters. So their incentive is to get, eyeballs on their stories that they write. But it's also to uphold a sort of journalistic integrity, because if they lose that, then, they're a scandal and they're not going to get hired at another news organization. Because the business leaders at a local media organization have this incentive too of keeping the prestige of the organization, because that's what allows them to get subscribers and for people to view that news organization as a place you can go to be informed on the world, or on the city around you. On an app like this, like YouTube, content creators, basically anybody. Like, I'm a content creator, and I just like downloaded the app and I just upload videos. It's very easy. There's not a lot of there's not much more to the content creators incentive than just visibility, like getting eyeballs on your, whatever media you're putting out, videos or whatever it is, audio for podcasts. So that's the content creator role, and they're in a strict sort of like purely like media consumption product like YouTube. The content creators' incentives are very aligned with the business incentives, which is like keep people watching this. The content creator cares about people watching their content, and the platform like YouTube just cares about people like watching or sharing any content. So they're perfectly fine to have you, watch a bunch of like Sam Harris videos. It serves their purpose as well. What I want to get into next is just, and I'm biased because I do work in local media, but I just wanted to make the point that if you're interested in staying informed in the world around you, I think your best bet is to go with like a reputable media organization, like the New York Times, for example. The reason is because of that incentive structure. Like if a company like the New York Times just purely chases like eyeballs on their sort of content and their reporting, things are going to fall at a place in a way where they're going to lose their reputation as a media organization. And I do understand there's a lot of like independent media people that already are sort of complaining that companies like the New York Times or the Washington Post have lost their credibility. But I'll just say they still have that incentive to actually keep their credibility. Some of these people that you're watching that are like independent media people, like they are, to the extent that they have become visible to you, they have only proven that they're just good at being visible. Like they're good at getting eyeballs on their videos and their content. And I'll just say that just because someone like presents information to you in a way that matches your worldview and sort of gives you that feeling of like, oh, I'm listening to the truth, gives you that feeling that like, oh, everybody else is crazy, but like I'm listening to the one guy who's like rational in this crazy world. Just because they're giving you that feeling, it doesn't mean that you're actually being informed. And I talk about this all the time. Like internet content does a great job of stimulating certain feelings. So this this provider might be doing a good job of giving you the feeling that you're being informed, but that doesn't necessarily like correlate to to actually being informed. So that's why I would say it's probably a safer bet to go with local media than these sort of like independent content creators. That's just my 2 cents though. And hey, my salary is paid by a media organization, as I've mentioned already. The third and final point I wanted to make is kind of like, it's a probing of like, okay, what could be done to change the incentives with some of these media companies to where they can be like better for society. Like I think we've all seen the reports about Facebook, about how the more you use Facebook, the more sad you get. Um, the more that, especially like young women use Facebook or Instagram, the more they sort of get like body image issues. There's all these sort of like problems, and okay, like what can we do about the incentive structure to change that? And my kind of an idea, it's a little it's brainstormy. It's not super well formed, but so think about this: like when Facebook came on the scene, it was marketed as a social media app. So it was about staying connected. It was about finding people, staying in touch with people, events, connecting with people, basically. Uh, so an app like that markets itself to users as that solution, and I think there should be some incentive if a product's going to market itself as something, that there should be some incentive involved other than just like getting eyeballs on the site. Like it should be like there should be some metric that's like, hey, like how good do you feel about your social life? And if you're not living up to that, you're not doing your job. Same thing about some of these apps like YouTube or like Instagram or TikTok that people are using to learn about the world. Like there's just no incentive for the creators to do a good job of informing people. There just isn't. Um, but if you were, say if there's some app and hey, this is the app that content creators use to inform people on like US politics or something. Maybe you could have a metric that's like, you know, you give people a quiz on like how the high school, you know, like the high school level like civics question of how the government works. And if you're listening and spending a lot of time to a certain content creator and they're talking about like drag queens and kids, or like or just like hammering, you know, kind of echo chamber content, but they can't pass a high school civics exam, like, hey, we gotta downvote your content, we can't show it, sorry man, turns out you're not actually informing people. So I wish there was more of that, because think about this, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm not as familiar with Snapchat, so maybe it's still like this too, but they basically just evolved into time suck apps. They just get you to spend a lot of time on them. And at the beginning of this, like the iPhone sort of era, we had time suck apps. We had apps that specifically were about just wasting time on them. Think like Angry Birds or like Flappy Bird. These are apps that you go to just burn some time and waste time. But somehow, and apps that were created for different reasons somehow ended up being like the best time suck apps ever. And how does that happen, man? It's all about the incentives. It's all about, it's this sort of organization, to bring it back full circle. It's all about a certain organization and their ability to hire really high quality, smart people to engineer a technical product that's going to meet the business incentive. So I guess, yeah, my main takeaway is, yeah, if you can use apps that actually do serve a purpose that you're trying to meet, use those instead. And I think from like a policy perspective, I think if there's going to be a new product that comes on the market, a new hot tech product, I think there should be some alignment in what they're offering to the user and what they're actually engineering for. So that's it from me. A bit of a long one today. Keep it gray. Been doing a good job of that. My phone's gray right now, so I'll keep that up. And we'll see you after these NFL playoffs. I'm excited for this first round. Completely unrelated. Anyway, peace.